including sliding down a stripper pole to lap dance on the
night history made. Star Trek's Captain Kirk, William Shatner, boldly going to the final frontier and back.
William Shatner?
At 90 years old, becoming the oldest person ever to blast off.
Of racketeering. We have breaking news. A jury convicting our captain.
Today, we are told, Bill Cosby, convicted of aggravated indecent assault and
matter movement, and he reiterated what he told jurors in court, that he acted in self-defense and tried to turn himself into police after he opened fire, but he says he was told to go home.
Hello everyone, welcome to this edition of The Take. Yes, this is The Take, but this is not going to be the take of regular. This is going to be the take of the year end 2021, what a year it was, and what a year it was. But first things first, join in the conversation using the hashtag Take Here on Connect. And don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing here on The Take as we talk about the year in review, 2021, the year. What a year it has been. When we've seen a lot of celebrities go on trial, we've seen billionaires go to space, and we see a new variant emerging. Yes, we thought we was going to get out of the pandemic, but we're still back. We're still in the pandemic. A lot going on. Well, speaking of the pandemic, well, we know in last year, 2020, was the coronavirus, the introduction of coronavirus, as people were trying to stay their distance. But a new variant emerges, and you know what I mean, called the Omicron variant, that a lot of people are still talking about today. Let's get you up to speed with the Omicron variant. As you saw right there, the Omicron variant still making an impact. We're still trying to find new testing for it to see how we combat it, and everyone go back to their normal lives. But at this time, still wear your mask and still get vaccinated and get the jab, like Boris from the UK Prime Minister said, right? Yeah, get the jab. Well, we move on from health news to human interest stories. It was a lot of human interest stories this year that took us appalled and took us aback. Like stuff like the Black Lives Matter trials that people died from for no apparent reason and stuff. Let's look back at human interest stories that you are talking about here. Stuff like Devlin Chauvin being in trial for the George Floyd murder. Kyle Rittenhouse being acquitted. Dante Wright being killed by just air freshener, and a police woman didn't know she had a gun or a taser. Ian Amar Aubrey trying to figure his trial as the three white men were found guilty. Let's look back at human interest story, and Gabby Petito as well. Gabby Petito. and her boyfriend and her fiance. Let's look back at human interest.
Joseph Rosenbaum. We, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the second count of the information, Richard McGinnis, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the third count of the information, unknown male, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fourth count of the information, Anthony Huber, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty. As to the fifth count of the information, Gage Grosskreutz, we, the jury, find the defendant Kyle H. Rittenhouse not guilty.
Members of the jury, these your unanimous verdicts. Is there anyone who does not agree with the verdicts as read? Would you wish the jury polled? No. Okay. Okay, folks, your job is done, and
We trial Kyle Rittenhouse, found not guilty of murder after shooting and killing 2 people during protests in Kenosha, Wisconsin, is now talking about his case in his first TV interview. The teenager spoke with Tucker Carlson of Fox News and defended his decision to be at the protests that night. He also told Carlson he is not a racist and even supports the Black Lives Matter movement. And he reiterated what he told jurors in court, that he acted in self-defense and tried to turn himself into police after he opened fire. But he says he was told to go home.
What'd your parents say when you called them and told them what had happened? I didn't call my mom after I saw her, and she was in shock. She was like, she wanted to go into hiding, and I said, no, the right thing to do would be to turn myself in. I didn't do anything wrong. So you knew that from the very beginning? I knew that. A lot of people are like, oh, Kyle had time to meet with his attorneys to come up with this amazing defense of self-defense. No, that's not the case. It's been 100% self-defense from the beginning.
So we're in essentially a national episode of Court TV.
Now parole after a nearly all-white jury convicted them of murder. And today, Aubrey's mother says she is giving thanks that justice was done. ABC's Alex Perche has been following the trial from Brunswick, Georgia.
In a case that in so many ways has defined this Brunswick community, this verdict is the Thanksgiving miracle so many here hoped for. All 3 defendants found guilty of murdering Ahmaud Arbery.
We, the jury, find the defendant Travis McMichael guilty. Greg McMichael guilty. William R. Bryan guilty.
And for Ahmaud's mother, Wanda, who spent nearly 2 years fighting for justice, hearing that verdict meant victory. And today, she's full of gratitude.
Today is Thanksgiving, and I'm really, really thankful. My family and I are very, very thankful for the verdict.
Arbery's father, Marcus, spoke to ABC News just hours after his outburst in the courtroom.
Guilty.
Joy, when I heard that guilty verdict from the one that pulled the trigger, I really was really happy because I knew justice was pouring down.
So much was made of that nearly all-white jury. In the end, they spent just 11 hours deliberating, their decision reverberating across the country.
I hope in society hear the name of Ahmaud Arbery tomorrow, 10 years from now, 100 years from now. They'll know his name from being the man who brought about change.
One section teetered before also giving way. We were right there on the second floor. The buildings, one of these huge buildings, gone. Right here beside us, the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. This 3D map view shows what the building looked like before. This is what it looks like now. An entire structure collapsing, floors pancaked on top of one another. When the dust settled, the building appeared to be sheared in 2, with bunk beds, dining rooms, and entire homes left blowing in the wind. Some indoor surveillance cameras appeared to capture the moments before the deadly collapse.
I've been living in Suicide the past 10 years. This is by far the most horrific thing that I've seen in my life.
Officials say 55 of the 136 apartments collapsed on the northeast side of the building, sparking a desperate search and rescue in the rubble that continues right now. Dozens of firefighters under the building's parking garage using heavy equipment in the search for survivors. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis says rescuers have made contact with people trapped beneath the piles of debris.
They're doing everything they can to save lives.
Earlier today, rescuers found this 10-year-old boy in the rubble. Neighbor Nicholas Balboa says he heard the boy's screams for help.
He was just really panicked. He said that his mom was in there with him. His arm was pinned. There wasn't really a whole lot of conversation. It was just, like I said, it was just sheer panic.
Today, President Biden said FEMA is at the ready.
We are on top of it. We are ready to move from the federal resources immediately.
To make matters worse, bad weather hampered rescue operations today. Dogs were brought in to assist in the search. Officials said they remain hopeful they can still find people alive.
We are shoring up the structure on the inside as we continue to tunnel in to locate additional survivors.
But some family members say the search isn't moving fast enough.
We walked up to it 10 minutes ago, and they're searching the rubble. The rubble's about 3 stories high, and no one is searching in the rubble right now.
Nicholas Fernandez says his calls to his loved ones who are missing have gone unanswered.
Seeing they're gone, I don't want to be pessimistic, but they are. We've been calling them like non-stop, no reply.
At this family reunification center, friends and families were huddled together, looking for answers about their loved ones, like 66-year-old Judy Spiegel, who was in the building. We spoke with her children, Rachel and Joshua.
Tell us what you know and what you're hoping for.
What we're hoping for is that they'll find her quickly and that she's still alive.
Their father lives there too, but happened not to be home. Joshua believes his mother will be found alive.
We just want to be with our mom. So, she was the best. Okay, right? We can't live without her.
Oh, man. The calls now coming in for help, and ABC's chief national correspondent Matt Gupton in Baton Rouge tonight. Matt, I know you spoke with the police chief in Grand Isle, Louisiana tonight, where some chose to stay and are now trapped. What have you learned?
David, the police chief has been there for over 6 years, his whole life. He's weathered major hurricanes before, but he says this is the worst he's ever seen. In fact, it's still so bad that they haven't been able to go out and survey the damage. They expect that there are still people trapped, that they will have to execute some rescues. But his major concern right now, in addition to sparing those people, is that Grand Isle may be cut off. There is a single road leading to that spit of land. They don't have electricity. They don't have running water. Both he and others from that community tell me they are concerned about the future of Grand Isle. David.
So that's well within what we were expecting.
Trade during the trial. Jen Perryman and Lindsay Perryman are sisters, working in his inner circle as his personal assistants, and they say they still believe in him.
All we can do is be honest and upfront and tell you that in our experience of working for R. Kelly and being around him, we never saw anything illegal or anything wrong.
This despite the verdict which found R. Kelly guilty after a gripping 6-week trial on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. R. Kelly sat motionless in court as the verdict was read, the emotion on his face covered by a COVID-19 mask.
Some breaking news, jurors had just reached a verdict in the federal trial of R&B singer R. Kelly. He has been found guilty of racketeering. We have breaking news, a jury convicting R. Kelly of racketeering in his sex trafficking case.
Reality, what are we looking at? We're looking at R. Kelly spending the rest of his life in jail to think about those young ladies and his actions since 1994.
More than a dozen victims testified against him. One woman testified that he slapped me and choked me until I passed out. You never saw anything untoward towards other people?
I can tell you what I saw when I was there, and I didn't see anything that was illegal. I didn't see, underage women coming through.
I've interviewed women who say that they were held in a locked room. They had to ask permission to go to the bathroom. They had very little contact with the outside world. They were forced to have sex with R. Kelly. I've spoken to women who told me these stories.
If someone felt that they were a victim, they have that right to feel that way. But what happened between closed doors in a private relationship, I can never attest to that. No one can.
The Perryman sisters may be true believers to the end, but to the jury, he is guilty as charged.
Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for own sexual gratification.
I have pursued many sexual predators who have committed crimes against women and children. Of all the predators that I have pursued, however, Mr. Kelly is the worst.
Human interest stories that took you aback that happened this year. So, like I said, it's a lot to foster and stuff. But hopefully, we human interest stories going to continue to be as we roll on to 2022. When we return, we're going to have more to take. We're going to have more billionaires go to space and celebrities go on trial. This is the tape, the year 2021 in review. Stick around. Welcome back to the tape. I'm your host as always, Kenny Dixie. Glad you can join us here on the tape. Join in the conversation using the hashtag tape here on Connecting. Don't forget to subscribe. Subscribe is caring. Tell a friend, call a friend, hit that subscribe button so you won't miss a thing. Here on the tape, what a take we have for you. But we're not going to do the weekly tape. We're going to do like the year in review tape. So, let's get back to the year in review. We know in politics, a lot goes on. We normally have the political rundown, but in politics this year was crucial. We went from a snow blizzard to getting infrastructure plan deal from President Biden. President Donald Trump reemerges, and a governor decides to do something that he shouldn't be doing in the first place. Let's look back in the year of politics right now.
Sexual harassment investigation that led to the resignation of New York Governor Andrew Cuomo. The information is also raising some fresh questions about the role of the former governor's brother, that's CNN anchor Chris Cuomo, in defending him. Our national correspondent, Jerika Duncan, has been following that story and joins us in the studio with the latest. Good morning to you, Jerika.
Good morning, Gil. The New York Attorney General released almost 9 hours of video footage of Andrew Cuomo's testimony in July, where he repeatedly and at times combatively denies claims of sexual harassment. 6 of his accusers' video testimony was also released. They detailed Cuomo's alleged misconduct. The release also included new written testimony and evidence about the ex-governor's brother, CNN anchor Chris Cuomo. Transcripts show the younger Cuomo was more directly involved than previously known about, and how the governor should respond to the allegations and the crisis swirling around him. Chris Cuomo said this on his CNN program in August after the governor's resignation.
I'm not an advisor. I'm a brother. I wasn't in control of anything. I was there to listen and offer my take. And my advice to my brother.
But text messages reveal he was often in contact with his brother's top aide, Melissa DeRosa. In one, he begs to help the governors prep for his responses. And another, he says he will use his sources to find out about possible new accusers coming forward. An email from CBS News regarding Norah O'Donnell's interview with Andrew Cuomo's former assistant executive was even forwarded to Chris Cuomo for his thoughts on then the upcoming story. CNN has said it is now looking into the new documents and will seek additional clarity about their significance as they relate to CNN over the next several days. An attorney for Chris Cuomo told CBS News that he was honest with investigators, and Andrew Cuomo denies any wrongdoing. In a statement, his spokesperson said the Attorney General, who is now a candidate for governor here in New York State, released the edited video of testimony to damage political opponents. It's a lot to be said.
Going on in the year of politics is Andrew Cuomo. A lot going on. Trump reemerging. So, and then the Biden plan, the infrastructure plan, and Joe Manchin. There's a lot going on. So, hey, it is what it is, and that. So, hey, be that way. All right. In entertainment, what year was entertainment? We saw Lil Nas X shock the world once again. We saw R. Kelly, Bill Cosby all go on trial, and we saw everything. Let's take a look in the year in review, entertainment.
Trade during the trial.
Jen Perryman and Lindsay Perryman are sisters, working in his inner circle as his personal assistants, and they say they still believe in him.
All we can do is be honest and upfront and tell you that in our experience of working for R. Kelly and being around him, we never saw anything illegal or anything wrong.
This despite the verdict which found R. Kelly guilty after a gripping 6-week trial on racketeering and sex trafficking charges. R. Kelly sat motionless in court as the verdict was read, the emotion on his face covered by a COVID-19 mask.
Some breaking news. Jurors have just reached a verdict in the federal trial of R&B singer R. Kelly. He has been found guilty of racketeering. We have breaking news. A jury convicting R. Kelly of racketeering in his sex trafficking case.
Reality, what are we looking at? We're looking at R. Kelly spending the rest of his life in jail to think about those young ladies and his actions since 1994.
More than a dozen victims testified against him. One woman testified that he slapped me and choked me until I passed out. You never saw anything untoward towards other people?
I can tell you what I saw when I was there, and I didn't see anything that was illegal. I didn't see, underage women coming through.
I've interviewed women who say that they were held in a locked room. They had to ask permission to go to the bathroom. They had very little contact with the outside world. They were forced to have sex with R. Kelly. I've spoken to women who told me these stories.
If someone felt that they were a victim, they have that right to feel that way. But what happened between closed doors in a private relationship, I can never attest to that. No one can.
The Perryman sisters may be true believers to the end, but to the jury, he is guilty as charged.
Today's guilty verdict forever brands R. Kelly as a predator who used his fame and fortune on the young, the vulnerable, and the voiceless for own sexual gratification.
I have pursued many sexual predators who have committed crimes against women and children. Of all the predators that I have pursued, however, Mr. Kelly is the worst.
Hello, I'm Terry Moran, coming to you from ABC News Washington Bureau with some breaking news today, some surprising news out of the court system. Bill Cosby, who had been served 2 of a 3 to 10 year sentence for sexual assault, has been, his conviction on those crimes has been overturned, and he will leave prison today, we are told. Bill Cosby, convicted of aggravated indecent assault and serving a 3 to 10 year prison sentence in Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania has overturned his sexual assault conviction because the Supreme Court found that a previous prosecutor had cut a deal with Bill Cosby to hear his side of the story, and that because that deal promised essentially that Cosby would not be prosecuted, his conviction that a future prosecutor had brought the case must be overturned. It is a tangled legal issue, basically a technicality, but the bottom line is Bill Cosby is going to leave prison today because, according to the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, he was granted a deal to come talk to prosecutors. They used that evidence against him, and that is unconstitutional. The court saying that Bill Cosby was, quote, operating under the reasonable belief that the prosecutor decided not to prosecute him, and that when a future prosecutor in the same case decided to do so, that was against his Fifth Amendment constitutional right against self-incrimination because he'd already talked to prosecutors.
People are used to seeing you in the baggy clothes. I mean, but you got this sexy.
Call him what you want, but it won't be a one-hit wonder. Lil Nas X's Montero has debuted at #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. The smash was propelled by lots of controversy, including sliding down a stripper pole to lap dance on the devil and Satan shoes. He's already jumped on Twitter to say, y'all told a 19-year-old boy who had just escaped the point of his life that he would never have a hit again. You told him to stop while he's ahead. He could have gave up. But 4 multi-platinum songs and 2 #1s later, he's still here. Thank you to my team and my fans. I love you. That second #1 he mentioned was Old Town Road, which reigned for a record 19 weeks in 2019. 146.9 million U.S. streams and sold 21,000 downloads in the week ending April 1st, according to MRC data, and is X's 5th Hot 100 entry, all of which have hit the top 40. Congrats, Lil Nas X. Running it down for you always, I'm Tetris Kelly for Billboard News.
It's going to keep on grounding us for entertainment in this year, for 2022, on the Time Will Tell. We're going to stay on it with a pulse of pop culture here on the take. So we're going to stay on it. The hub of pop culture. So, hey, it is what it is. All right. We'll see. And we go by honorable mentions. What was that? Honorable mentions. As billionaires go into space, William Shatner heads into space, the final frontier at 90 years old. Let's look back at honorable mentions where William Shatner, Jeff Bezos, and Richard Branson headed into space, and a lot more with this.
Called the dawn of a new space age. Billionaire Richard Branson, now the first person to reach the edge of space in his very own spacecraft. The mothership Eve carrying the Unity taking off at 8:40 a.m. local time. 45 minutes later, Unity separating and blasting off to the lower reaches of space more than 50 miles above the Earth. Then 4 minutes of weightlessness, the 6 astronauts floating freely, the realization of Branson's dreams. The billionaire celebrating on the ground, calling the whole thing magical. ABC transportation correspondent Gio Benitez spoke to Branson just moments ago and leads us off from the New Mexico desert.
3, 2, 1, release.
Tonight, a moment 17 years in the making.
Ignition. Good, rocket motor burn.
Richard Branson, more than 50 miles above the Earth's surface, weightless, becoming the first person to fly to space aboard his own spaceship. At 8:40 this morning, the mothership Eve carrying Virgin Galactic's spaceship Unity to about 50,000 feet, dropping it. The heart-stopping moment Unity's rocket ignites, blasting Branson and 5 others to the edge of space, giving them 4 minutes of weightlessness.
For the next generation of dreamers, if we can do this, just imagine what you can do. Hey!
The crew safely touching back to Earth, the whole thing less than 60 minutes. The nearly 71-year-old Branson beating Amazon founder Jeff Bezos to space by just 9 days. Now tonight, just hours after their historic flight, Branson and fellow astronaut Sarisha Bandla speaking with us.
Everything I dreamt about since I was a kid came true and more today. And be to space! Excuse us.
Yes, you got those wings.
I have to say that messages from India, and especially of young women that didn't even see that this was an opportunity that they could chase, has been incredible.
Joining the celebration, SpaceX founder Elon Musk coming to New Mexico to wish his friend well.
It was great this morning to find Elon in my kitchen at 3 o'clock.
Meanwhile, Virgin Galactic now launching a sweepstakes to win 2 seats on a future flight, hoping to open up space for all.
As a kid myself, when I saw the moon landing, I was, making rockets out of cardboard boxes, and I was, making them big enough so I could get into my rocket, and dreamt of building a rocket to go to space one day. And yeah, that's what we done.
Yeah. And Lindsay, Virgin Galactic.
Michael Strahan is out of the capsule. Big hug for our founder, Jeff Bezos, followed by Laura Shepard Churchley, Dylan Taylor, Lane Bess, Cameron Bess, and last but certainly not least, Evan Dick. Welcome back, the original 6. So tell me.
Down. And your body just goes like this, and you take off a seatbelt. But naturally, it feels natural to move.
You're like swimming in the air.
But if you swim, you don't go anywhere. You actually have to push off things and touch things very gently, but it feels very natural. And you're looking at the Earth, and you see that you're looking going up, and you're really looking at the 2,200 miles per hour. And you're going, I've been fast in a car. I've never been this fast. And the ground's just disappearing, and the capsule starts to turn. And you're getting a 360 of everything. And you're looking at darkness, and you realize, I'm going to change and go from darkness to look down at light instead of light to look up at darkness. And
65 miles above Earth.
Here, catch.
Blue Origin's 4 giddy civilian astronauts tossed ping pong balls and Skittles.
Who wants a Skittle?
For Jeff Bezos, the microgravity dream he first imagined as a 5-year-old, watching the Apollo 11 moon landing.
On this July
52 years ago today.
It's one small step for man.
Blue Origin's New Shepard rocket streaked skyward, its speed peaking at 3 times the speed of sound. Less than 3 minutes into flight, rocket and capsule separated. For one of the most improbable space crews ever, instant weightlessness lasting several minutes.
It felt so normal and natural, almost like humans were evolved to be in zero-G, which of course is impossible, but it felt that way.
8 minutes into flight, the reusable, fully automated rocket landed vertically, a couple miles from its launch pad. About 2 minutes later, the capsule itself. 3 parachutes lowered it onto the West Texas desert. After a thrill ride of 10 minutes and 10 seconds, Blue Origin's first human spaceflight. He talked about it with our Gail King.
But I don't think people truly understand what this means and why it's important.
Yeah, I think you're right, Gail. I think people don't understand. When you get into space and you can see the Earth's atmosphere, it's so thin and fragile looking. So we do have to take care of this planet.
Each crew member received astronaut wings, including aviation pioneer Wally Funk.
And I want to thank you, sweetheart, because you made it possible for me.
This is Blue Moon.
Bezos intends to use his Amazon riches to build a new empire in space, competing for suborbital tourists with Virgin Galactic and Richard Branson, who reached space in a rocket-powered plane 9 days ago. In this age of space barons, Bezos intends to colonize the cosmos, launching people into space to live and work.
Did this moment motivate you to push deeper into the cosmos?
Hell yes.
So on that note, Mark joins us. So does Blue Origin have more flights planned?
2 more of these, Nora, by the end of the year, taking tourists up to the edge of space. And to give you a sense of the interest here, Bezos said today that advanced ticket sales have topped.
Out of that historic space flight, Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin company blasting off at the oldest person ever to travel into space. Science fiction coming true for 90-year-old actor William Shatner, the Star Trek hero Captain Kirk, returning to Earth overcome with emotion, saying he was struck by the Earth's vulnerability. ABC's Gio Benitez there for the launch, later speaking with the planet's newest space travelers.
Tonight, history made. Star Trek's Captain Kirk, William Shatner, boldly going to the final frontier and back.
William Shatner?
At 90 years old, becoming the oldest person ever to blast off into space. More than 5 decades after Star Trek began.
Welcome aboard, Captain.
Today, traveling aboard Amazon founder Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin spacecraft, along with 2 paying customers, and Blue Origin's VP, Audrey Powers. The rocket traveling 66.5 miles over the West Texas desert. Shatner saying simply, wow. The crew experiencing 3 minutes of weightlessness before parachuting back down to Earth. The whole mission, just over 10 minutes. Afterwards, Bezos opening the latch.
Hello, astronaut. Look at her.
Shatner and the crew emerging.
See the blue cover go whip by. And now you're staring into blackness. That's the thing. The covering of blue, this sheet, this blanket, this comforter of blue that we have around. We think, oh, that's blue sky. And then suddenly you shoot through it all of a sudden, as though you whip off a sheet off you when you're asleep, and you're looking into blackness, into black ugliness. And you look down, there's the blue down there, and the black up there.
Shatner overcome.
I'm so filled with emotion about what just happened. It's extraordinary. Extraordinary.
We got one for 2.
I hope I never recover from this. I hope that I can maintain what I feel now. I don't want to lose it.
And right after, we were there with the crew, What made you so emotional up there?
The absolute startling, unexpected difference between the darkness of space and the blue of Earth. Out there lies coldness, yes, the mystery of space, but right here lies sustenance, life, nurturing.
What do you think you're going to take back from this experience?
See something of the difference of life and death.
The words from Captain Kirk right there.
Yes, they're trying to make space be more space-like, but it's getting there. But they're gonna have space tourism next. That's next. That's how I feel. That's how I see it. So it's gonna go that frontier down the road. So hey, looking forward to seeing it. Thank you all for watching this edition of The Take, Year in Review. I've been your host, Kendrick Dix. What a 2021 has it been. We're getting ready for 2022 here on The Take. So for me being Kendrick Dix, we'll see you in 2 weeks for The Take. So we'll resume back to The Take in 2 weeks. I've been your host, Kendrick Dix, saying what a 2021 been, and let's welcome 2022 with a bang. See you later.